students, welcome to Music Appreciation here at UACCM. I'm your instructor for this course, Mr. Logan Smith. Just wanted to take a second at the beginning of this video to introduce myself, let you put a face to a name before we dive into everything for this semester. So this is your introduction to the course video. This is a very important video. I do hope all of you will watch it. I know it's going to be a little bit long, but it's got a lot of information about how to get started in this class and how to be successful. Of course, if you have any questions, and I'll remind you this at the end, but you can always shoot me an email or send me a message in Blackboard, and that will help you get started. So just to give you a little bit of information about myself, first off, we are here in my office. My office has moved, so if you have friends who have taken this class before, then I'm actually over in the UC building now instead of over in the Kirk building. So I'm in a completely different office than I was before, and our classroom, for those of you that are coming in person, is in a completely different location as well. So we are on the second floor of the University Center now, in room 227 for my office, and then in room 226 for our classroom. Room 226 is traditionally a history room. It has a lot of maps and stuff in there, kind of hard to miss. And my office should be pretty obvious because it's the one with all the music stuff outside of it. But yeah, room 227, classroom or office 227, I should say, if you need to get a hold of me. I usually have my door either propped or open all the way so that you can just stroll in, or you can knock if you want to be polite. You'll see what my office hours are in the syllabus, but just to kind of give you a quick basic rundown of that, I'm going to be here every morning from about 8:30 until noon. I'll usually take a lunch break from about noon to 12:30. And then I'll be here for about 30 minutes before class starts. Most of my classes are, actually, all of my classes are either at 1 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or 12:55 on Tuesday, Thursday. And then I'll be in my office for about half an hour or so after class as well. I'll usually be gone by 2:30 or so. So your best chance of getting a hold of me is in the morning. Now, if that just doesn't work with your schedule, if you need to get a hold of me in person at a different time, shoot me an email and I can always make an appointment to meet with you whenever you need to. I tend to be pretty flexible about that. And I can always make a virtual appointment with you as well, so that you can just meet with me via Teams or Classroom or something like that. So just let me know what the easiest way to get a hold of you is, and I will try to accommodate that. My office cell phone number is 977-2062 if you need to call me. They're switching over to Teams phones now. I'm not sure exactly how that's all going to work for students, but you should still be able to call or text that number and get to what you need to. And I'll be double checking that in the future so that I can clarify that for you and make sure that everything's good. Okay, what else do you need to know about me? My degrees are from UCA. I have a master's in music from UCA, as well as a bachelor's in music education. I am currently pursuing a doctorate of education from the University of Memphis in the specific field of instructional design and technology. So I am going to be taking some classes during this semester as well. So I feel your pain as you're working through stuff. Trust me, I'm doing a lot of reading and writing myself. I am married, and I have a 16-year-old daughter who is a senior at Valonia High School. Is probably going to be going to University of Arkansas Fayetteville in the spring, or in the fall, I should say, but we have not finalized that. But yeah, that's about it. I play music pretty regularly. That's my biggest hobby, obviously. I'll give you information about musicals and stuff that I'm playing later on. I also have a little bit of music out on Spotify and Apple Music, all the streaming services, under the name Logan.Jacob. It's primarily electronic music. I do a lot of kind of ambient electronic music. I also have created a record label called Reverberated Records that has a kind of study beats lo-fi album out that you can find if you just search for Reverberated Records on all of the platforms. I also have a YouTube channel under the name Mobile Music Maker. It's primarily tutorials about how to create electronic music, and mostly using an iPad or some other things. And I've got a few videos of myself playing guitar and bass on there as well. But that's all that you probably really need to know about me, other than just who I am, what my face is. We will get started this semester. I'm going to switch over here in a second to a screen recording view, and I will take you through the classroom and everything that you need to know to get started for the class. So I hope you have a great semester. If you see me out and around, especially if you're in my online class, please come by and say hi. I like to put a face to the names whenever I can. I don't get to see a lot of your faces online until the very end of the semester, usually. But I like to at least have said hi to you if I can, if you have a chance to. Otherwise, if you're in the in-person class, which will actually be treated like a flex class this semester, it's supposed to be a flex class, but we had some issues getting it designated that way this semester. But I will see you hopefully on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and we'll get started and get rolling through this semester. So I will now switch over to the screen recording view and take you through our Blackboard shell. All right, students, so we are now in the Blackboard shell for our course. I am sharing a screen with you, and I am in student preview mode here, so this should look exactly like what it looks like when you log into Blackboard for this course. So you'll just pick music appreciation, and here you are in the class. Now, when you first log in, a couple of things that you will notice right off the bat. I do have this "What do I do on day one" document as our as a first thing that you can open. It's available to you now, right from the very beginning, before you even do the orientation. So if we click on that, this will just kind of tell you what to do to get started. So the chances are you've already clicked on that and are watching the video that showed up right here. So this gives you a little bit of information about how to just get started in the class. And I'm going to take you through that as well, so we're not going to linger there. Excuse me, sorry. Over here, you can see some other information. You've got a link to be able to email me directly if you need to. This is, of course, my picture. And whatever else other information that you might need for this class. The only thing over here that you should ever need is this launch class section. If you want to watch any of the videos, or if I have you join a meeting through there, this is where you will go for that. If you're in my flex class and are watching this video, then if you want to join us in virtually during class time, this is the link that you will click on to join us there. Okay. Now, you'll notice that most of the stuff here is set as unavailable. You've got a little thing here that says why you cannot access this. And it says you must earn 1 point or higher on the test orientation to Blackboard Ultra to access this content. This should be set up for all of your classes the same way. So the first thing that you have to do is this orientation to Blackboard Ultra. So when you click on it, it's got all of these little documents that you will go through to figure out and learn about Blackboard Ultra to make sure that you're successful in this class. Now, if this is your first semester at UACCM, this is the very first class you've taken, and this is the first one that you've opened this semester, then you need to go through all of this. It's very important so that you know how to get everything that you need, how to look at the grade book, how to message your instructor, how to complete discussion boards. I get questions from students all the time that are actually answered in this section. So if you'll just do all this, you'll know where to go and how to access everything for this class right off the very bat. So please make sure that you're taking care of that. Now, if you have already done this for another class, then what you can actually do is just go straight down here to the bottom to where it says Test Orientation to Blackboard Ultra. And if you click on that and hit Start Attempt 1, it's just a one question thing that just says, yes, I have done this. I've read it. I've reviewed it. I understand all of the materials for the orientation folder, and I understand how Blackboard works. So you hit true, and that will set you up for the course. So hit submit, and you'll get a little confirmation thing here. You can just hit close on that. You can do it again if you want to, but once you've done that, then you can exit out of it. And now you have access to at least the first 2 weeks of class and the course and instructor information. So you can go ahead and just close this folder down so that it's not a bunch of extra stuff there for you. So, I have our course set up by weeks, as you can see down here. So you'll just go through each week and click on it as you get there, and it'll have all the information you need. And I'll show you what week 1 and week 2 look like here in just a minute. But notice that you cannot access week 3 yet. So you've done this part. You've earned your 1 point on the test orientation, but I have this locked down until right before the week starts. So the Friday before each week start is when it will become accessible, and you can actually hover over that and see when that's going to become accessible for you. So, I do want to start here at the course and instructor information, though, because this is a lot of important stuff that you need to know for the class before you even dive into the content. So the top thing here is welcome and meet your instructor. You should have received by now an email with all of this information in it that has just kind of the basics of how to get started. I sent this out on Monday afternoon, so hopefully you were able to get that information. It's got how you can access our textbook and how to kind of get started in Blackboard, before you actually get into class. So hopefully you've done that already. I'll talk more about the textbook here in just a minute, and we'll go over these links here in just a second. Down here, you can also find the information about me. So it says who I am. This is my email address, smithlogan@uaccm.edu. If you are going to email me, first off, make sure you're emailing me through your student account. Okay, I cannot answer emails that are outside of the UACCM account, because it could be anybody emailing me. And it's a FERPA rule that it has to come from a UACCM address for me to be able to give you any information about the class. So just be aware of that. If you can't access your UACCM email for whatever reason, you need to call over to the UACCM test services, or not test services, sorry, help center, and they will get you straightened out. Okay. You can just Google UACCM Help Center and you'll find that number there. This is my office phone number, like I mentioned at the beginning. It should still work. They're switching over our phone system, so if you can't get a hold of me that way, just send me an email. But it should be all set up now to work properly. And then here is my office. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm in the University Center in room 227. That's on the second floor. If you come up the stairs, you'll hang a right, and I am uh, right next to the women's restroom. So if you see the women's restroom, just look to your left, and my office should be right there. So you can find me there during my office hours pretty regularly. So my office hours are listed here, and I went over them in my introduction, so you can kind of see exactly what they are for each day. But they're pretty similar. 8:30 to noon is the best time to find me. I do have virtual office hours as well from 2:30 to 3:30, which basically means if you need to meet with me virtually, you should be able to get a hold of me during that time, either by phone or if you send me a Teams request or something like that, I can help you out that way. All right. And our classroom is 226, which is right next to my office. Pretty easy to find up there. The next thing that we need to check out is the syllabus and other important information. So this tab has a lot of stuff that is set up by the university before we do anything else, but it does also have our course information in here. So your UACCM college syllabus, hopefully that link is working correctly now. It has not been for the last couple of days, but this is the syllabus for the college that goes over all of the university policies and all of that stuff. And then this is actually our course syllabus that is specific for this class. So everything that you need to know about this class, you can find right here. And I'll also show you the course outline document in a minute that has some other good information in it. So all the rest of this is just policies and procedures, that kind of stuff you can click through to find. You've got your important dates, which is your calendar for this semester. That'll show you, the school calendar, all of the stuff that you need to know for the semester, as far as when classes are canceled and all of that kind of stuff. Just make sure you check that out so you know like when fall break is and when the last day to drop a class is and all of that stuff. And then our final exam schedule, which is the overall final exam schedule, and that'll let you know if your class is at this time, this is when your final exam is. But I'll also give you our specific final exam date for this class. So if you click here, this will open up the syllabus. And I'm not going to go over every single thing in the syllabus. I trust that you guys can read through that and find information on your own. But I do want to highlight a couple of important things. Of course, all of my basic information up at the top is there. Here is more of that information about the textbook. So, our textbook for this class is actually completely free for you. It is available as a PDF from the publisher, which is the University of Georgia system, and it is also available as a Google Sites page. So, if you want to download the PDF to have, you'll click on this link and it will take you to this page that has a download button, and you can download it there. Now, if you're somebody that just likes to have a physical textbook, that's fine. You can just download the PDF and print it. That's perfectly legal. It's a lot, so I would suggest maybe sending it to Conway Copies or someplace like that and having it printed for you. Or you can access the free digital version and download it that way, or you can pay $50 and they will send you a like spiral bound version of the textbook. It's a lot cheaper just to have it printed yourself, so I recommend that you do that. But you click here and it will give you the PDF that you can then download and save to your devices. Save it in your OneDrive or something so that you can access it wherever you need to. So the PDF version of the textbook, it's pretty cool to have it as a PDF for a few different reasons. One of those reasons is that you can upload this textbook into like ChatGPT or something like that, and you can ask it questions, and it'll clarify stuff for you. And I'll talk more about that in our first couple of days of class, and how I recommend using AI for this class, and what is okay and what's not. This version of the textbook also has these QR codes for different pieces that we're going to listen to. These will take you to usually YouTube videos, and they are also clickable links. So if you're opening it on a computer, you can then just click on these and get to whatever you need to. As you can see, it takes you straight to that YouTube video there. Okay. Oh, I need to get back to full screen here. Just a second. Okay. So the textbook is pretty handy for all of that information. You can also click on this, and this will take you to a Google Sites version of the textbook. Very handy version of the textbook that has everything broken down by unit. So our first unit that we'll look at is Unit 1, and you can click on Chapter 1, and it's all the same information that was in that PDF, but it's set up as a website, which is really nice. You can then click on this stuff and just read through everything that you need to. You've got all your pictures and stuff like that there. Now, when I tell you to read each chapter, I do recommend that you check out the media that's built in there, because that's going to give you a lot of information. You don't necessarily have to read every single word of the chapter, especially some of these chapters. You'll notice that they are very long. This first chapter has a lot of information about the brain and stuff like that, and we'll go over a little bit of that stuff, but you don't have to read every single word of that. Just make sure that you have a pretty good idea about some of these terms, what they mean, what the basic ideas are. But here is also where you'll find all the answers to questions. So if you're doing a multiple choice question on chapter 1, you can usually find it all in here. Again, one of the nice things about having this set up as a website and as a PDF is that you can search it. So if I ask you a question about something specific, you can search for it there and it'll show you where it is. So you can find it pretty easily. So another pretty nice little feature of our free textbook there. Of course, the nicest being that it's completely free to you. You don't have to pay for it at all. Okay, let's get back into the syllabus here. So that's your information about the textbook. You've got all of your objectives, stuff like that. Down here, we talk about grading and what each little thing is going to, how you're going to be graded in this class. So we have different categories of grades, and these are all set up to line up exactly like this in the grade book. So you'll know if it is an assignment, if it's a discussion board, if it's a quiz, if it's a special project, or if it's the final exam. It will actually be labeled that way. And you can see how much that thing is going to be worth as far as grading goes. So most of the assignments for this class are going to fall into the assignments category. That makes sense. You'll have multiple choice questions. Every week, you'll have a set of multiple choice questions that you'll answer, and you will have some kind of written or not necessarily like an essay type assignment, but something where you'll fill in like short answer questions. And I'll show you that when we go over week one. But uh, all of that is going to be found here under the assignments. And the way that that works is at the end of the semester, your two lowest assignment scores are going to be dropped. And I do have a late work policy for this class. It's pretty simple. Within 48 hours, you can turn in anything and get full credit. So almost everything for this class is due on a Monday. So you have until Wednesday to get it turned in for full credit. Um, and then up to a week or 120 hours to turn in late assignments for partial credit. And how much credit you get is determined by me. The way that I kind of think about it is, if this is the first time that you've turned in something late for the class, I'm probably going to go ahead and give you full credit for it. But if you're consistently turning things in, you know, 3 or 4 days late every week, I'm going to give you less credit for it as we go along. So please be aware of that. With the discussion boards, however, I am very strict about those. Um, you lose a couple of points for basically each day that those are late, because turning in discussion boards late hurts everybody. If there's not enough posts for people to be able to respond to, then you're not really actively engaging in the course. And if you're turning in your discussion boards late, then that means that you haven't really engaged in the conversation for that week. So please be aware of that. I am very picky about those discussion boards and how you get points for those. Speaking of discussion boards, these are each week, and they are actually part of the assignment category as well. But they are their own kind of thing. They have their own policy attached to them. So for each week, you're going to have a discussion board where you will need to do one post and reply to two classmates by the end of the week. So the way that I have this set up, you actually have two due dates for each of these discussion boards. Your first one is generally on the Thursday of the week, and you'll need to turn in your post by then. I think I actually have it set to Friday at 8 a.m. To put your initial post in there so that by that weekend, you've got a couple of days to then respond to your two other classmates. So your first due date will be usually the Friday of each week, and then you will need to respond by Monday morning to at least two of your classmates' posts. So your original post is worth 10 points, and each of your responses is worth 5 points. So if I go in and grade everything on Monday, and I see that you have done your original post, but you have not replied to anybody else, you'll only get 10 points for that week. If you've only done one of your replies and your original post, you'll get 15 points. That should make sense to you. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Be aware that that first due date applies to your original post, and that's when your clock starts. So if the original post is due by Friday at 8 a.m., if you wait until Sunday afternoon to do your original post, then you are going to lose points for it being late because that's beyond the 48-hour window, if that makes sense. Obviously, if you wait until Monday to do it, it's going to be even later and you'll lose even more points. So understand that that's why you might lose points for the discussion board. If you're turning them in late, and these do have to be substantive posts, meaning that they need to make sense. They need to be, complete sentences. Your initial post will usually need to be 3 or 4 sentences long, and your replies need to actually have substance to them. They need to be something other than just great post, thumbs up. You need to actually engage with that person and either challenge them or ask questions about what they're saying, or be specific about what you agree with in their post. You have to actually be having a conversation with them. Other categories, your quizzes. About every other week or so, you will have a 25-question quiz. These are actually made up of the questions from the multiple choice assignments. So they're all questions that you've seen before. I think I've got 6 of them set up for the semester, and the lowest one will be dropped. And again, it's the same policy that is for assignments. You have 48 hours to turn them in late and 120 hours for partial credit. You have two big special projects at the end of the year. They are worth 10% of your grade each, meaning that they are a total of 20% of your grade. So the first one is that you will need to attend a live performance of some kind, and you will need to complete an assignment for that performance. And I'll give you more information about that by week 2 or so. I think week 3 is actually when we go over it and I assign those. I have a list of performances that are acceptable, or you can get approval from me if you want to see something else. But I've given you tons of options for what you can go see, including several free ones. So as long as you can get there, you should be good to go. Now, if for some reason you cannot attend a live performance, then please let me know. Um, Now, I am pretty strict about this. Your reason has to be something legitimate, and it has to be a real reason why you couldn't attend something in person. So if you're not sure that you're going to be able to attend a live concert for whatever reason, please let me know. I will tell you that I don't accept work as an excuse because this assignment is not due until 6 weeks into the semester. From the time that it's assigned to the due date is over a month. So you should have time to be able to figure out a concert and work your schedule around that. Okay. If you wait to the last minute and then you're like, well, I can't get off work this week, you should have opened this, early in the semester and started planning ahead. The second one is a project where you will actually present your favorite song to the class, and I'll give you examples of that. We'll go over that a little bit later in the semester, but just to kind of give you an idea of what you've got coming up. And then finally, you have your final exam. Um, for both my flex classes and my online classes, this can be taken as online using the Respondus Lockdown browser, or you also will have the option of taking it with me in person or in the UACCM Test Center. And I've got details about that in the course outline document that we'll look at in a minute. This is the weights of your individual grades. So your assignments category is 25%, your discussion boards are 20%, your special projects are 20%, your quizzes are 20%, and then the final exam is 15%. So as you go through that, you'll see the weights kind of shift around a little bit. And since I use weighted grades, things can be a little bit skewed at the beginning. When you only have 2 assignments in the grade book, if you missed one of them, it's going to show that you have a 50% in the class. Okay. So obviously that will change as you get things added. You also have to be aware that if there's a category of something that's not in there, then it's going to skew your grade a little bit. So leading up to when special project 1 is due, you might have an A, but if you don't do special project 1, then your grade's going to drop by 20 points automatically, or 20 percentage points automatically. Now, if you do the second special project, that will come back up by 10 percentage points, but it's really going to hurt your grade. And if you ever have any questions about why your grade looks the way it does, please let me know. Shoot me an email, see me after class, whatever you need to do, and I'll help kind of explain what's going on with your grade. And if something doesn't look right, if you are seeing a 0 on something and you know that you've turned it in, please let me know. And I do make mistakes sometimes, and I'll make sure to double check and see if I've made a mistake there. So never hesitate to reach out to me with questions about your grade or anything like that. The attendance policy for this class, for both the in-person / flex classes and the online classes, it's going to be the same. It is a weekly attendance. So we're going to use the online course participation policy for this. The way that this works is that on Monday of each week, I will go in and take attendance. And what I'm going to do is go in and look and see if you have done your assignments for the week. And if you have at least done one assignment for the previous week, then you will be counted as present. You have done something that week. If you've not done anything at all and I have not heard from you that week, then you're going to be counted absent for that week. Okay. And our administrative withdrawal policy has changed a little bit. So the big thing, and this still applies, is that if you have 2 absences in the class and you have a failing grade, you will be dropped automatically. Now, the other side of that is because of financial aid and all of that stuff, we also have had to change that up a little bit to say that in addition to that, if if we have not heard from you for 2 consecutive weeks, you haven't turned a single thing in, you haven't emailed me or anything like that for 2 weeks consecutively, 14 days consecutively, then I am required to drop you from the class. So please be aware of that. If you're going to go on vacation, if you have, boot camp or National Guard training or something coming up, please let me know, and I will, make sure to take that into account. If I have heard from you, if I know where you are, why you're not turning things in, then I will not drop you for that. But if I have not heard from you at all, if you just haven't shown up, no matter what your grade is, for 14 days consecutively, then you will be dropped from the class. Okay. If you have any questions about that, be sure to email me. All right. Makeup and late work, I've already kind of talked about there. It goes into a little more detail there. Um, so this is just the other information that you might need for your online class. You do need to have kind of the basic computer skills. You need to have access to Microsoft Office, to Adobe Acrobat, all of that stuff, which you can get through your UACCM account. And if you need any help with that, please contact the Help Center. A few other things that you need to know. I do have an artificial intelligence policy in here, but I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later. So I'm not going to get into that. I suggest that you read over it. All right, that is the syllabus. The next big document that I want you to see, and I'll get to it this way so you can see where I'm going, is the course schedule and grading scale. Now, the grading scale is in the syllabus, so I didn't repost it over here. But the course schedule, this document tells you everything that you are expected to do each week of this class. I've got it all broken down by weeks. So, for week 1, these usually will go from Monday to Sunday. If it's a short week, like because our first week starts on a Wednesday, then the dates reflect that. If there's a week that we don't have class or something one day, then you'll see the weeks reflect that. For the most part, they go from Monday to Sunday, and your assignments are due on the following Monday. So usually, whatever this day is, your assignments are due the next day at 8 a.m. So you've got all week plus the weekend to do your assignments. And because I actually have each week open up in Blackboard the Friday before, you actually have 2 weekends to get your assignments done. You can either do them before the week actually starts or the weekend after that week. So if you know, for example, that you're going to be out of town, on Wednesday through Sunday of a week, then you should be able to get everything done for that class either the weekend before or those first days of the week. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. It goes over everything that is due for every single week. I've highlighted the important stuff. I've also included, we don't have school on certain days. Some of these, there's at least one in here where I said that we will not have class that week. That is for web class, it doesn't really matter. But for my flex class, you have a week that says we won't have class on a certain day because I'm going to be out of town. And if I have to cancel class for any other reason, I'll try to let you know as quickly as I can. And down at the end of this, you've got your final exam information here. So the final exam for our class will be given on Friday, December 11th at 1 p.m. or Tuesday, December 15th at 12:55. Now, technically, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday class is the Friday at December 11th one. My Tuesday, Thursday one is Tuesday, December 15th. But it doesn't really matter. Just come in one of those days if you want to take it in person. Or you can also take it in the testing center. You just need to email them or call them to get signed up to do that. And I'll talk more about that at the end of the semester. Of course, like I said, you can also take it online. And if you're going to do that, make sure you turn it in by December 15th at 3 p.m. Okay, that is all of the syllabus documents that I want to go over. I think everything else in here is pretty self-explanatory, and a lot of it is just stuff from the university. It's not even stuff that I put in here, so you can go in and access that as needed. So now we're going to look at week 1. I had to kind of cut this up into a couple of small chunks. It's Monday afternoon, and if you live anywhere near Morrilton, you probably know that we got hit by a pretty severe thunderstorm all of a sudden, started blowing stuff all over the place here on campus. So what I just went over is everything in the course instructor information module there. So, as I mentioned before, for each week, we have a module set up. And I'm going to kind of show you these first two, what they look like, so that you know what you need to do every week. So, for this first one, you click open, it gives you this drop down of all of the stuff that is in this module. So for this week, you've got your instructions. I've got a couple of links here. The Google Sites version of the textbook, which is also in the syllabus, the PDF version of the textbook. And then this one is actually, will take you to a YouTube channel where a guy is reading the textbook. So if you want to kind of listen to it as an audiobook, maybe while you're driving or something like that, it's pretty handy to have that available. He doesn't have every single chapter in there. I think it's another instructor that only did it for the chapters that he uses. But there's the majority of the textbook is available there as a kind of audio version. And then you've got your syllabus and course basics assignment, which is a multiple choice assignment, and your intro discussion board. And this is kind of the basis of what your assignments will look like, plus one additional kind of assignment that I'll show you in week 2. But first, the first thing you need to do every week when you log in, for the first time you log in that week, is you need to go to the instructions. This is copied over from that course outline document. I will have a video usually here that's a short, like 5-minute introduction video for that week to let you know, this is what you can expect. This is what's going on, all of that good stuff. I also will post things in here to let you know if something changes. So, you can't just rely on that course outline document. It is pretty accurate, but things will change over the semester. So always check back here to make sure that you know what's going on. So for this week, we're going to do our intro to class, which is kind of what you're watching now, the orientation to Blackboard, which you had to have done before you could even access this. And then you've got 2 assignments due on Monday, the 24th. Again, at 8 a.m., almost everything for this class is going to be due on Monday at 8 a.m. Your syllabus and course basics assignment, which I'll go over with you in just a second, and then your introductions discussion. So you'll have one other assignment in there on normal weeks that I'll show you in just a second. So you could just click next here and it will take you to the next thing. Or if you exit out of that, you can actually just use your drop down here and find what you need. So let's look at this syllabus and course basics assignment. This is set up like almost every, I need to fix the due date on there. Sorry. This is set up just like pretty much every other assignment, multiple choice assignment for this class is set up. So you'll hit start attempt 1. And it's going to pull up your multiple choice questions. And this is just it's kind of a quiz. It's really just an assignment, ensuring that you've read over the syllabus and you understand everything. So what's my email address? Where's my office? All of that good stuff. You'll just click through your answers as you go. And you can find all this information in either the syllabus or in that course outline document for those that have questions about due dates. And then down at the bottom, the very last question basically says, did you read the syllabus and do you understand each section? So click yes there to let me know that you have done that. This is just kind of to make sure that you have actually looked over everything. So I'm just going to quickly go through. I'm not going to give you the right answers necessarily, but I'll use that to kind of show you something. So some of these will be the right answers, but I'm just going to kind of randomly click through here. So don't follow my answers on this. I'm just randomly clicking through here so that you can see what it looks like when you submit it. So if we hit submit, you're going to get that little thing. And you're going to come to this screen now. And this lets you know what your grade was. So I somehow managed to get 6 questions correct. And if I click on that, it's now going to show me which answers I got incorrect and what the correct answer is, which is pretty handy for you. For most of your assignments will be set up this way. And if you ever come to a multiple choice assignment that is not set up this way, please let me know. It will be a mistake in the settings. So what you'll do is you can go through here and you can kind of make notes. Oh, okay, this one is that answer or whatever, as you go down there. And once you finish that, you can click away from there. And if you want to try again and see if you can get a better grade the second time, you can hit start attempt two. As you can see right here, it says we have unlimited attempts on this. So you can go through and do this as many times as you need to make sure you get all of your points. For every multiple choice assignment in this class, this does not include the quizzes, but for every multiple choice assignment that is listed as an assignment, you can do this. You have unlimited attempts, so you can go back and make sure that you get full credit for everything on there. And you can also use this as a study guide. Like I said, the questions for your assignments are going to show back up on your quizzes. So you can go through and use that to make sure that you remember everything without having to do the assignment again. Okay. The last thing that you would need to do for this week is your introductions discussion. And again, this is going to look like every other discussion board that you're going to do for this class. So for this one, it's kind of you're welcome. You're going to tell us a little bit about yourself, what your name is, what are some hobbies that you have, what kind of music do you typically listen to? I always find that interesting. If you have a favorite artist or band or genre of music, you can talk about it there. What has been your favorite concert experience? So if you've been to live concerts, what was your favorite of those? And you can, tell us a little bit about it, why you liked it. And then if you were in band or choir or you performed in musicals or something in high school, I want you to tell us about it there as well. Um, and then I want you to go through after you make your post and talk through, read through what your classmates have posted and answer, reply to them. If somebody else likes a band that you like, comment on that. Hey, I really like that band, or I think it's really cool that you got to go to that concert or whatever. Um, so, like I said, your original responses are due the Friday. So you can actually see here your first due date is August 21st at 8 a.m. And then the second due date, where you have to submit your two replies, is August 24th, which is Monday. And I've got all that stuff in this remember section here as well. So if you do all that stuff, then you'll get your 20 points for your discussion board. If you only do one reply, you're going to be missing 5 points or something like that. It should be obvious how your grade has come out there. And again, if you're late on something with your discussion boards, I am pretty strict about those due dates. So make sure that if you do submit a discussion late, that you understand that you're going to be losing points for it. So I recommend logging in on like Monday of every week and looking at the discussion board, kind of getting an idea, and maybe by Tuesday or Wednesday posting your initial post. And then you can just come back later when there's more posts and do your responses. Okay, so that's week one. Let's look at week two just so you can kind of see what a standard week is going to look like. So we've got our weekly instructions here, which will have a video. I tell you what chapter we're going to read, and then this link will actually take you directly to that chapter on the website. I try to include that with every week. Sometimes I forget to make it a link. And then you've got your assignments 1 and 2 and discussion board 1 due on the 31st. So if I hit next, this link, by the way, will take you to a OneDrive folder that's actually attached to my OneDrive, and it has every chapter individually as a version of the textbook. And there's also this edited version, which cuts out some of the stuff that we're not necessarily going to use, although I think that's old. I think I need to update that. But you can access every chapter individually, and then if you want to load in a chapter to ChatGPT or something and ask it a question, you can. You will have to read this appendix, so it is listed there as well. And then I've also got these PowerPoints. So if you come in person or for my flex classes, this is what I'm teaching from most of the time. But it also kind of is a handy little notes section for you. If you're just downloading it, you can just open the PDF file and look at it and get all the information that you might need. So just another handy way to get the information from this class. All right, I got to get out of full screen again to get back over. Okay. The next thing we have is our chapter 1 assignment. I'm not going to start this one because it's just like the quiz that we just did. You got 25 points here. It's unlimited. You'll go through and start it that way, and you can see your due date there as well. This assignment two, is going to be a little bit different. So for each week, you will have some other kind of assignment. And this one just happens to be a form that I want you to fill out. So your instructions are listed pretty clearly right here. Complete the form link below. And I'll try to point this out again later as well. Because this form is not actually tied to Blackboard, I do need you to go down here and just type the word complete, just to let me know that you've done it, and hit submit. And I will double check that with the form. So just to make sure you get your grade, make sure that you hit this complete there. That is part of the instructions. So hopefully it will be pretty clear to you. You don't have to submit, just submit the form. You don't have to take a picture or anything like that of it. Just submit the form and then type completed there. And when I go through to grade it, you'll get your 10 points. Easy as that. Okay. And then getting back into our week, and then you've got your discussion board, which just looks just like the other discussion board that we did, with your 2 due dates listed there as well. Okay, so every week will look pretty much like that, and you will be good to go. Now, let's talk for a second about AI. I will straight up tell you, I use AI. You might be able to tell that some of my assignments are created with the help of AI. I think it's a great tool for us. But as a student, I want you to be very careful with how you use it, because there's a difference in using AI as a tool, as an academic tool, and using it to plagiarize your work. And it is considered plagiarism to copy a post from AI and paste that in as your answers, especially with discussion boards. Now, every class on campus is going to have some kind of AI policy. I strongly suggest that you know that policy if you're planning on using ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. Because you don't want to get a 0 on an assignment because you didn't understand what a teacher's policy was when it comes to AI. For my class, for discussion boards, if it looks like it was AI generated, I will talk to you about it. Generally, I will run it through an AI checker. And if it is like obviously AI written, you are not going to get credit for it. You're going to get a 0 for it. The point of discussion boards is that I want you to think. I want you to be thinking about this content. And none of our discussion boards are very hard. As long as you've looked over the chapter and have a basic idea, you should be able to give an answer. Now, I am not grading your discussion boards for grammar or spelling or anything like that. I want you to do the best you can, try to be professional, and do college level writing here. But, I'm not grading based on that stuff. I'm not grading your short answer assignments based on grammar and spelling and stuff like that. So don't worry about using AI to fix all of that stuff, because it's just going to make it look like you used AI to generate your answers and you're not going to get credit for it. Now, you can always appeal if you feel like I marked something as AI or flagged something as AI that's not. You can let me know and we can talk about it. If we need to get the dean involved, we can talk to the dean about it. But I will tell you that most of the time it's obvious. We can usually tell pretty easily whether or not you've used AI in the class. Now, I mentioned before that you can take a chapter from the textbook and you can plug it into something like ChatGPT to give you and ask questions about it. Now, this is going to pull up my personal account, so you can see all of my stuff here. Okay, so what you can do is if you hit add photos and files, you can then go and find that chapter. Let's put in chapter 1. And you can load it in and you can say something like, and this is not cheating, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, generate a set of notes based on this chapter. And hit OK. It's going to do its thing and it's going to pop out a set of the most important stuff from this chapter. which is pretty handy thing to have if you're somebody that doesn't read slow, or that doesn't read very fast, or you're very busy. Reading through every single word might be tough for you. So you can go through and read these notes instead of having to read through every word. You can also do something like, and this is, it's giving us a lot of information right here. You could also go through here and say, okay, discussion board. Our discussion board question is about uh, John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds. You could ask it specifically something about that. Now, what you cannot do is what I'm about to do. Plug in that discussion board, and it's going to draft a response. Now, if you then take this response and hit copy, go over to the discussion board and paste it in here as your answer, that is considered cheating. Okay. You just plagiarized ChatGPT. All right. You used ChatGPT to generate your answer rather than using it to help you formulate an answer. So, a better way to do that would be to take this and say, this is a discussion board question related to the chapter I uploaded. Help me understand the questions and to think about experiences in my life that might be related. Do not give me an answer to copy and paste. And now what it's going to do is it's going to almost act like a tutor for you. It's going to give you some things to think about. It's going to kind of explain the context a little bit. Now, this knows a lot about me, so it's relating that to me because I use it so much. So it's relating some of my personal stuff to it. But one thing to work through your response would be to fill in the blanks here. So once you have that, that's perfectly okay. You can then go through and write your own response using it as kind of a guide or a tutor. The big thing is with these discussion posts, and anytime you have an assignment that's asking you short answer questions, I am looking for your thoughts. I want you to be thinking about this. I want your original thoughts. That's the whole point of this class. So just be aware of that. Please make sure you're not just using ChatGPT to copy and paste your discussion posts in. You're not getting anything from the class if you do that. And the chances are I'm going to figure it out and you're going to end up getting a 0. And you're also going to be, I have a form that I have to fill out that is part of our academic integrity. So you're going to be written up for academic dishonesty if you do that, and it's you don't want that showing up on your record. The way it's set up is that if you have multiple teachers that are saying, hey, they used AI for this, then you're going to start running into trouble with the university. So be aware of that. Be aware of what is acceptable and what's not. And if you have any questions about it, please let me know. And I will go ahead and point out, as one final little thought on AI, that I do have in the syllabus, I have it laid out very clearly what is acceptable and what is not. So if there's any question about it, you can always refer to that. Of course, you can always check with me as well. But if you look in here, I showed it to you earlier, but since I'm talking about it now, I wanted to bring that up. The AI policy is down here at the very bottom of this. you can use that as a study aid, as a tutor, to help clarify course concepts, to explore examples, to ask questions and receive explanations. But directly copying and pasting AI generated responses is prohibited. So please be aware of that. Um, okay, I know that every teacher is talking a lot about AI, so I don't want to harp on that too much. Couple of other things I want you to know about this course and how things are laid out in your class. Number one, look at the course banner. So this is course number 1201, which is this number right here in the actual course number. But in the banner, I've got listed that this is Web 1. So that means you are in Music Appreciation Online section Web 1. So if you send me an email, I do need you to include, hey, this is so and so from Web 1. So that if you're asking me a question about your grade book, about a grade, I can go into the grade book and see what you're doing there. Speaking of the grade book, if you ever want to know how you're doing in the class, this is the place to find it. So I've done the orientation. This doesn't actually count as points for the class, but it's required to do. Um, and then I've got my syllabus and course basics assignment turned in. So my current grade is a 40% right now. So it's going to show exactly where that's coming from. Also, if you click on it, it's going to show you the percentages. Those do line up with the um, syllabus, so you can double check that as well. And you can also see if anything is late, if you've got a zero on something, whether you've even opened it or not. And then from there, you can also click on the assignment and view it if you want to. Start your attempts if you want to do it there. Now, I generally don't recommend using this as the way to figure out to get into each of your assignments. First off, it's kind of jumbled, and getting it in the correct due date order is going to take me a little while because I have to go through and do it manually. It won't automatically do it. Now, you can sort it by due date up here if you want to see everything in the order that it's due. But you can only see stuff that you have access to right now. For some reason, it does give you access to all the discussion boards, even in weeks that are closed. But whatever. So this is where you'll go to find any information, and then you will also have an absences column that will show you how many absences you have in the class. So be aware of that as well. And the announcements page is where I will post any announcements. We haven't had any yet, so there's none in there. Your discussions you can access here. Now it's only showing you the stuff that you have access to currently, but they will show up in here. And then you've also got this messages. If you need to send me a message in Blackboard, you can just hit new message. And then you can either send a message to any member of the class or to me. Um, Now, I am the main instructor. Some of these other folks are administrators that also have access to this. So if you're looking for me, just look for the one that says instructor. Click on it, type your message, and hit send. I do get notifications about that, so I'll see it. I used to say don't use this messaging system, but they've improved it a lot with Blackboard Ultra. And if you send a message this way, by the way, you don't have to tell me what class you're in. I'll see it in the message. And that is about it. You won't have to worry about the groups or anything like that. And you can always just click on content to get back where we need. So that is basically it for this video. Like I said, I know it's long, but a lot of good information. This is always your reference if you need to go back and figure something out. So I hope you have a great first few weeks here at UACCM. If you have any questions, if you need any help with anything at all, let me know. And if it's related to the class, then I'll be able to help you. If not, I'll be able to at least point you in the direction of somebody that can help you. So I look forward to meeting all of you and seeing your work and communicating and exploring our musical journey this semester. And I will talk to you again shortly. Have a good one. Bye.